but it's huge. Like the number one thing that makes that social media platform desires is length of time on platform. They want you to be on your platform as long as possible because that means they can deliver more ads to you and they can make more revenue, right? Very simple.
Yeah.
Very simple business model.
Real business owner.
Whatever your situation is currently is not your forever situation.
That's really what real business owners is, man. Like, we don't care where you come from, where are you going?
Our goal and our job is to reduce the mistakes that you have to make or the money that you have to lose.
You want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be successful, don't give up.
You learn, adjust, and continue to move forward. Welcome back to the Real Business Owners Podcast. This is episode 129 with myself, Trevor Kale. As always, Kilo G.
What's up, everybody?
Guys, today we have an individual that has been a huge person to help us in terms of the marketing things that we're doing. Mm-hmm. You guys know that we've been going through the process of kind of stepping back from more to the day-to-day stuff, and we want to start focusing on kind of blowing up our business. And this is an individual that Kale reached out to. We actually met in Apex originally, another entrepreneurship group. It's pretty crazy the network that you can build when you invest into surrounding yourself with the right people. But we have Brad Bearden on the show today. This individual, I mean, he knows anything and everything about marketing down to the very minute details, even language that you use in order to, capture people's attention. He made us film some crazy shit yesterday in the office to capture people's attention. Shit that we probably wouldn't normally do unless we had an individual behind us kind of pushing us in that direction. So, Brad, we appreciate you coming out and helping us with our businesses and now being able to jump on the podcast and help other individuals as well with theirs.
Dude, thank you for having me, man.
Yeah.
Really love the value that y'all put out in the marketplace. And I mean, it's reflected. I know you can't see on a podcast or on camera everything that you do in this office place, right, man? But y'all's team, the way that you run this organization, the energy, the culture that you've built here, it's amazing, bro.
Dude, we appreciate it.
It's always great to hear that because, you go through dips sometimes in culture, like COVID and all this stuff. We're like, oh, I got to get culture back, So when people come in, they're like, dude, the vibe here is good. It's like confirming the okay. You know what I mean? We're doing something right.
Well, I think what happens is some people, culture will be top of mind for a minute. Like, hey, we need to invest in a culture. And then it starts getting good. And when something starts getting good, people start getting relaxed.
Right.
They pull back. They stop investing in the areas because they're starting to see results. Yeah. And if you're seeing results, you should continue to invest into that area. Mm-hmm. We're guilty of it as well. We went through a process of having – 6 o'clock in the morning or 6:30 workouts every single Wednesday. If they showed up 4 weeks in a row, they would get a bonus on their check, get them out sweating together, working out together, basically just bringing people together outside of the office. We have country club memberships that our employees get to go use. We got a break room that's fully stocked. And so we went through a big push of building the culture that way for a period of time, and then COVID hit. We would go bowling, we would do a bunch of different stuff. And some of the stuff that we would do together, bowling alleys weren't open. Nobody wants to put their fingers in those damn things when everybody's scared that they're going to catch something and they think they're just going to all of a sudden tip over and die out of nowhere, right? Which isn't the case, as we know now. Yeah. But, a lot of that stuff that we used to do kind of got pulled back from us. And we felt even a dip during that time frame. Yeah. And that's, we've discussed that. We've talked about it. And we continue to try to keep that top of mind. So it's always refreshing to have somebody come in and see the effort that we put in terms of the culture type vibe that we like to create. But I'd like to start with the story.
Yeah.
Kale's like, this guy.
Well, dude, first, I got to say, though,
crazy story.
I do got to say before we jump into that, the first time I actually heard you talk was on the Clubhouse app.
Oh, yeah?
And I came in Trevor, I'm like, dude, this is this cool dude, Brad Bearden on Clubhouse I was listening to, and he's like, bro, I've seen him in our Instagram page. And I was like genuinely excited. I'm like, really? Oh, that's cool, man. And then I didn't know you were in Apex at that point either. And so just connecting with you on all these levels, I was even telling Corey, I was like, bro, I just think this dude was meant to come in and help us do some things. And there's not very many people I take my shirt off, my pants off, put my boots on and do some videos with. But like, hey, when you admire somebody and their skill set as much as I do this,
you crushed it though, bro.
Like,
you crushed it.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. It made it fun, dude. But I wouldn't just do that with anybody.
Well,
right? That's the power of having an awesome coach.
Hey, well, just so that you know, Brad pulled me aside and said, I'm going to have Kale take his pants off. It has nothing to do with marketing. We're not even going to use it. I'm just going to see if his ass is really willing to do it.
I'm glad you guys did.
How much skin you really got in the game, brother?
So
He went all in.
I bet him $100 that he couldn't get your pants off, and he figured out a way to do it by using it as a marketing ploy.
You know what?
He led me right down that hole, dude.
It was just, hey, I bet I can get Kale's pants off. No, you can't. Bet $100.
That's all the angle.
Hey, Kale, this is going to drive more business to your business.
I'm gonna lay
Kale
down.
drops his pants. Boom, good to go.
He's getting carried around by this big, curly guy.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing is you got to get uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
Like if you really want to stand out, you're going to have to get uncomfortable. You're going to have to do things that other people aren't willing to do. And I've seen that you've been able to make that happen just in the 24 hours or whatever that you've been here. So we definitely appreciate that professional push. So
you got it, brother.
let's jump into the story because I haven't heard it yet. Kel's heard it, and Kel's excited.
He's got a lot of great stories. Well,
this might be another 2 or 3 hour show if he didn't have to catch a flight.
Right.
So we'll try to condense it down and get as many stories extracted from him as we possibly can because he is a wealth of knowledge. So
I appreciate that, man.
Let's talk about maybe the early years, some of the struggles that you had to face or overcome to put yourself in the situation that you're in right now.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I was talking to Corey earlier, and he said something that I really appreciated, but I think there is also some lost value in that because when he heard the beginning stages of a story, which we'll talk about in just a moment, he said, bro, you're one of the few people, I'm great at reading people. You're one of the few people that the way you carry yourself today is so professional and so knowledgeable, I never would have put 2 and 2 together. Yeah. I never would have foreseen that. And I find some pride in that because wow, it's a rag to riches type story, but no, it's because my identity is different now, right? And if you take it all the way back to when I was a kid, just like a lot of people had a really fucked up childhood. 5 years old, staring down the barrel of a gun while my mother's beaten and bloodied behind me and my dad's about to put a bullet through her brain and I'm just begging him not to kill her. Yeah. That type of scenario played out in my life multiple times. Yeah. And then
that's some heavy shit right off the bat.
It comes in and that was a very good picture of my childhood. That was a consistent thing. Then my dad, that was my biological father. He ended up going in and out of prison, passed away, I think died of AIDS, never really knew him beyond those type scenarios. Then my dad, who I carry his last name, took me as his own, still the greatest man ever known. Took me, my baby sister, as his own, adopted me. And then unfortunately when I was 12, he passed away in a car accident. And that kind of rocked my world and did for my mother as well. And so from that point forward, I think my mother was trying to fill that void of his loss, right, and the stability he provided. So she married and remarried again. And
she was trying to find that lightning in a bottle again, so to speak. Maybe she was doing that because, I think parents carry a lot of weight in terms of just wanting to put their kids in a good environment, right?
That's right.
And so she's like, let's go through, whoever we have to go through to try to give the kids what she feels like they need.
That's so true.
So, God, it's already heavy, bro.
Yeah, man. It gets better real quick.
Yeah. Let's
I guess maybe. So long story short, it was a very inconsistent childhood, a lot of ups, a lot of downs, all that bullshit. Yeah. And then by the time I graduated high school, I'm a full-fledged alcoholic. I'm all the way there. I'm just a good old country boy. I grew up in a small one red light town, legit one red light town. And they're just like, oh, Brad just likes to drink. He's just a country boy, likes to drink. Never thought anything of it. 9/11 had just happened recently, so I decided to go into the Marine Corps. I go there, and now I've got a head this big, right? You can't tell me shit. I'm a United States Marine, dumb as a rock, right? Bullheaded, but full of ego, but
you're wearing the outfit,
right? I'm wearing the outfit, and I wasn't even a full-time Marine after I went through boot camp and all that stuff. I was in the reserves, so I'm back home. I'm I'm thinking I'm the guy, I'm the man now, and that really made my drinking even worse because who are you? Even if you thought I was drinking too much, I'm a United States Marine. Who are you to talk to me?
Yeah,
right?
I'm untouchable.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it gets out of hand, and I was about to deploy. It was a Saturday before I'm about to deploy to OIF, Operation Iraqi Freedom. And all that day we're going out. I was deploying on that coming Tuesday. And so that Saturday we are sitting there. I didn't know if it would pick up that stuff, so I'll just.
No, so his phone was just jingling, ringing a little bit, so he had to take a peek at it. Make sure everything at home's good.
Yeah, man, got to check on them kids. Yeah. But so that Tuesday I was deploying, and so that Saturday I'd been out on the lake drinking all day, just having a great time drinking and fishing, and then Saturday night comes around and. We have this big party. I'm completely wasted. Yeah, wasted.
Day drinking.
And we go.
Caught up to you.
Yeah, exactly. So we run out of beer. It's like my last party before we go to Iraq. So I'm like, I'm going to let that happen. So
you were going to blow it out that dump.
My claim to fame, my first claim to fame, my unfortunate claim to fame comes right after. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go down to the grocery store. It's a local grocery store called Bruno's. All right. I go down there, drunk as shit. And I walk in the store, stumble in there, get 2 cases of Bud Light. And apparently I wrote a note, don't remember this. Didn't have any money. Walk up to the cash register, set 2 cases of Bud Light on the counter, and hand the lady a note that said, give me the money. Don't remember it. But nonetheless, the lady's like, are you serious? I was very polite. I said, yes, ma'am. And so she hands that, she grabs like, I don't know, like 60s, I don't remember, 60, 80 bucks. It's all on camera. It was on America's Dumbest Criminals. And so she gives me the money. I tell her, thank you. Like, well, thank you, ma'am. I grab the 2 cases of Bud Light and I stumble my ass out the door and I go to this parking lot. And I walk to the parking lot and get to the car. Unfortunately, I don't have one thing that I really need to get away. And that's car keys. My car keys are still sitting on the register. By the way, this grocery store that I'm in is in a shopping center. Guess what else is also in the shopping center? Not down the road, in the same shopping center.
The police station?
The police station. So I'm turning around. I'm holding 2 cases. You got to picture this. I'm holding 2 cases of Bud Light. And they're like, no, that's him. I've got his keys. I'm like, oh, shit. So I start running, and I run through these bushes. The police are coming out. I'm falling. Bud Light bust out everywhere. The whole parking lot's covered in Bud Light. Anyways, I'm arrested, and I'm charged with armed robbery. Not because I had walked in there with a gun or anything like that. I'd been fishing all day, and I had a fishing knife in my pocket. I never brought it out or anything, but come to find out, if you commit a crime and you have a weapon in your possession, it's an armed defense. Exactly. So I get charged with armed robbery. And long story short, I end up spending 4.5 years in prison. Never went to Iraq. Thankfully, I was a good Marine, and they could have destroyed me. And they looked out for me and gave me a general discharge under other than honorable conditions instead of a dishonorable discharge. So that was good. But I spent 4.5 years in prison. And that was a very, very unique time in my life.
Dark time? Was it initially dark, but then you found, maybe some answers in there of what you wanted to do with your life? Did you ask yourself some of those tough questions and kind of
I think
recommit to a new life when you got out? Or
not at first, and I was talking to Kale about this earlier. Mm-hmm. It's not a part of my life I'm ashamed of, but nor am I proud of it. For the first 2.5 years, you got to understand, I'm a 21-year-old white man going into penitentiary. I have no money, I have no family, I have no alliance. I'm just me.
Yeah.
Right. And the reality is I have 2 options. I can either become a homosexual or I can become very violent. And for the first time in my life, I decided I was going to stand for something. And not that I have all the love for anybody that chooses whatever lifestyle, but I wasn't going to have anything forced upon me.
Yeah.
And so I became a very violent individual. And I would say a worse person. I became a much worse person for the first 2.5 years.
You were putting your armor on, bro.
Yeah.
For the environment, right?
It was survival.
That you didn't go serve in Iraq.
No,
but that's a war zone, right? Like you have to be mentally prepared and battle tested and mentally, physically, emotionally in order to survive in an environment like that, right?
Yeah, and what it gave me was an opportunity to really create who I wanted to become, right? Because again, my family, when I got transferred from one prison to another, my family had no idea. No one kept up with me. I was kind of blackballed, right? And
they were just let him go do his time. He'll get out, and
there was even no expectation of when I got out, or it was just
a detached family, right?
Yeah. And so I had this blank slate. There's no expectations. I'm gonna make something of myself. I'm gonna recreate myself into who I want to become. Because up until that point, maybe because of my childhood, whatever, I had just been whatever I needed to be to suffice the moment. Right? That's all that I've been. I think there's a lot of people that go through life, and that's all they are. They're a product of whatever they need to become to make the moment happen, the way they, to just survive.
Yeah.
And so I just decided, after a couple of years, no, I want to be an honest man. I'm going to stand for something. Up until that point, I was dishonest. I mean, to the point to where, and I don't know why. I think it was just trying to get people to accept me or like me. But I was the guy that would lie to you. If you asked me if you've seen Batman Returns, and I'd never even heard of it, yeah, man, I saw that, and
it
was insignificant. It was insignificant, but I just wanted that acceptance by someone so bad, and I was just a dishonest individual, and so I chose. It sounds odd, but I chose no, I'm gonna tell the truth no matter what. That's a rock I'm gonna stand upon.
One of your values that you want to have,
and so it gave me an opportunity to start creating that. it gave me also an opportunity to learn the power of listening, right? Because right there in that environment, you need to be very, very well alert and very well keen of what's going on around you. What are people's agendas? What are they trying to accomplish so that you can, you
have to navigate it, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And the only way to navigate something is be aware.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I became very skilled in that, and I decided coming out, I wanted to become a personal trainer. So I did everything I could to really start studying that, to learning that. And this also, to paint the picture of the environment, this is, I think, a funny part of the story. It wasn't funny for me at the moment, but I got sent to the prisons are on a level of 1 to 6, right? 1 being like work release or something. 6 is maximum security, nothing but lifers. Well, I go to a level 4. And they have this entrance thing where they test you, just like the ASVAB for the military. They test you on your, language, math, and all these different social skills. And you take this little test. And compared to most people in the penitentiary, I had a lot higher scores. So like, hey, would you want to be a tutor? Well, this was like, I'm in prison. They don't have air conditioning. Like the only place that they have air conditioning is in the school area. So like, yeah, I can have AC. So I'm like, sure. Well, what they did not tell me is they did not need a tutor. It was a math tutor for GED. They did not need a tutor at that level 4. Right across the street, there's a level 6. So 2 weeks later, I'm walked across the street in the middle of the night, which is unheard of. They transferred me to the level 6 facility because that's where they needed
somebody
a tutor
to help educate.
Right. So I'm walking into this thing. So I'm this 21-year-old, just like naive white dude, right? That's just walking into a level 6 where the average prison sentence is 41 years, where people are doing 85%. I mean, now the only good sides of that is they just assumed that I had the same sentence, right? That was the assumption because that's what everyone there was. So I had to grow up real quick. I had to create a persona. I had to decide what I was going to stand for and what I wasn't. And I had to be willing to die for that. Like, that's just the reality. Like, you have to make a decision. Whatever you say that you're going to stand for, well, be ready to give your life for that. So there's a certain amount of, I think, impact that has on my personality even to this day. But fast forward, I was actually supposed to be there for 5 years. About 6 months before I was scheduled to be released, by a miracle, I really don't understand to this day, I just get woken up. It was early in the morning. It's like 6 in the morning. They called me to the front. They're like, Bearden, you're being released. Like, what? Like, you're being released. And I'm in Decatur, Alabama at the time. And I literally broke down in tears. So I go back, I pack all my little stuff that I got, and I have nowhere to go. I have no family to come pick me up. I don't have it. So I literally had an officer from that camp drive me from Decatur, Alabama, an officer, down to Birmingham and drop me off downtown next to a halfway house. And I was homeless. I have nowhere to go. So I go in this halfway house, and they're like, well, we don't have like any rooms or anything, but we've got a cot over here in this like dormitory if you want to sleep there. Like, bet. Like, I need somewhere to sleep.
Yeah.
So then I have the challenge of like, I've decided I'm going to be a personal trainer. I've been studying and trying to do this. Well, I go out and I'm going and putting applications everywhere. Now, all I got is a high school education. I'm not certified as a personal trainer. I have none of that stuff going for me. But nonetheless, I'm out there and I'm filling out all those applications. But remember, I had made the decision I was never going to lie. I wasn't going to lie again. Right? So what does every application ask you? What does it ask?
If you have a degree,
if you're federal,
or
if you have
a felony,
if you've ever committed a felony. Right. So I'm like, yes, and I'm getting nowhere. Like, nobody wants to hire me. I'm getting no callbacks. I'm getting no interview. I'm like, man, this sucks. Finally, I had there was a gym called Sportplex in Birmingham, Alabama. It's about a 30,000 square foot facility. There was 3 of them, and a management company from Atlanta had came in and recently taken over, and they hired me. They put me through the interviews. They hired me. And I remember going home. I had this big packet of like onboarding, like all the little information. I was sweating. I'm like, God, I made it this far. I've never even gotten through the interview process before, so I'm all stoked. And I think they'd even given me my shirt that said like trainer on the back. So I'm like, oh, I'm like right there. Yeah. And I go through this whole packet. They never asked the question. To this day, I couldn't believe it. I was like, it just never asked if you ever been convicted of a crime, been convicted of a crime. So I didn't have to answer. I'm like, bet, let's go. And it was just a 1099 job. So I was paid $12.50 per every 30-minute session that I was able to first sell for like $35-40 and service. So it was like, I killed what I ate, and I wasn't eating a lot. But at that point in time, you got to think, man, 4.5 years, it's like, the way I describe it is like a pit bull being chained to a tree, and he's starving. He's got all these steaks sitting out in front of him, and finally somebody cuts that chain off. Like, I'm hungry. I'm going to eat. So I'm there. I mean, it was probably 60, 80, 100 hours a week, nonstop at that gym. It didn't matter if nobody else was there. I was still there figuring out what do I got to do, learning, because I didn't have any sales training at this point, nothing. I'm just learning, figuring it out. First 2 months, I think I'd made $860, $840, $860 is what I'd made in my first 2 months of grinding it out. But I'd figured some shit out, right? I'd figured out, all right, how to sell, how to start these conversations, how to get people into a consultation, how to sell them a bigger package, how to service them quickly, and how to get referrals. I started figuring all this stuff out. Well, within 6 months, so 4 months after that, the management team from Atlanta had came in, and the fitness director, who had like a $40,000 a year salary plus commission of everything that was sold in the gym, fired him and gave me his job. I'm like, I made it. And then maybe 6 months after that, like I'm like, you got to think, I beat the odds.
Yeah.
6 months after that, 6 to 8 months after that, I was promoted to regional fitness director with a six-figure salary, making $100,000 a year and commission bonuses for all three of the facilities. So now I'm like, dude, I'm here.
Yeah.
I beat the odds. I beat the system. I'm winning.
Yeah.
And so I do that for a couple of years. Everything's great. I get married. I decided I was going to start my own little personal training business. And if you know anything about that industry, like a lot of trainers will go out and they will go to little small mom and pop gyms and they'll subcontract, they'll pay $500,000 a month, and I'll just kind of build my own business there. Right. Started my own little first LLC, and I brought some clients that knew me from that other gym, and so I'm kind of building my own little business. Well, then, like at that point where I'm feeling like I've made it and everything's great, the whole bottom falls out again. So I go through a very contentious divorce. I have twin girls, Jaden Faith and Jordan Hope. And I've got 5 kids now. They're my world. Like I'm just so enamored. I wanted to always, one of the biggest missions of life is being the dad I never had, right? Just being there in all aspects. So I'm all diving into that. I'm building my first little business. And then this divorce just financially devastates me. I'd built up my credit. I had an 805. I know for a fact because right before this, I just bought a Tahoe at an 805 credit score. I had money in the bank. I had clients paying me. Everything was good. And then all this stuff happened. And because of that, I was financially devastated. I had all the bank accounts were drained. All the credit cards were maxed out by my ex-wife. And my credit score within 30, 60 days went from 805 to below a 500. I have no money, have no credit, move out the house, but I had full custody of my girls. Now think about this. I'm a first-time dad. I got 9-month-old twin girls that are eating every 3 hours, and I'm figuring all this out. I'm trying to grow a business. Well, I'm taking them to the gym with me, this gym that I'm subcontracting out of, and I'm sitting there trying to train clients. I got them in the office, and the owner comes to me after a couple of weeks. He's like, dude, I know you're going through a lot, but like we can't do this. Like you can't be having your kids. You got to have some family or somebody. I couldn't afford a babysitter. Couldn't afford daycare. Didn't have no family to watch them. So I was like, I didn't know what to do. So just like any great entrepreneur, now's the time to start my own fucking thing. Right? I'm going to go get my own facility with no money, no credit, no cosign. I have none of this. So I legit, I'm on a mission. I'm going to commercial real estate agent after commercial real estate agent. I'm knocking on doors. I'm calling, and I'm just getting laughed at. I'm getting hung up on. I'm getting my number blocked. But I'm nonstop. I'm like, I'm going to find a way. Finally, this dude, I guess I'd called and left messages. I have no idea. He calls me back. The gentleman's name's Terry Ponder of Ponder Properties, Birmingham, Alabama. Older gentleman, probably in his 80s. He calls back. He's like, Mr. Bearden, I hear that you're trying to start a gym, or you're looking for a place to start a gym. I said, yes, sir, I am. He said, well, I've got a piece of property here in a real nice area in Hoover, Alabama. You want to take a look at it? I said, yes, sir, I sure would. So scheduled time, show up. Now, honestly, I almost didn't show up because I was like, man, I'm just going to break this dude.
Point? Yeah.
But I show up. He has not. It's only a little 1,200 square foot facility, but it was previously a personal training studio named Fitness Together that had been foreclosed upon. And if you know what that means they came in, they locked the doors. So there's like $30,000, $40,000 worth of equipment in there. So he hasn't even turned the lights on to show it to me. I was like, Mr. Ponder, I just want to be honest with you up front before I waste any more of your time. I don't have any money. I don't have any credit. I don't have anyone to co-sign for me. I don't have anything for a down payment. Any of the stuff that you're going to require, I don't have. But I have my word, and if you'll find a way to give me a shot, I will make this work. That was it. That was my whole sales pitch. And he just sat there. Like the light, we're sitting in the dark. And he's just looking at me, and he's like, well, son, I believe you. Like, well, good. That's a good
first
start.
Person. So like, thank God I'm not the only one that believes in me. Thank you.
That's exactly how I felt. So he's like,
it's like winning the lottery again.
Dude,
like, fuck.
Yeah, the lottery comes next. Yeah. So we're sitting there, and he says, well, let's make certain that you like it. He flips the light on. All his equipment's in there. It's just a 1,200 square foot facility with a little office in the back.
That's all you need to start, though.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
So we're sitting there. And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, we just obviously manage the property. The owner of it lives in California. Let me reach out to him. I'll reach out to him today or tomorrow, and I'll get back to you. Very next day, he calls me and he says, Mr. Bearden, I got good news. I'm like, what's that? He's like, we're going to give you the lease. And you've never heard of this. I promise you, I've never heard of this before. He said, we're going to give you the lease. We're not going to require any credit check. We're not going to require any cosigner. We're not going to require any down payment, which is typically first and last. Yeah. We're not going to require any of that. And we're going to give you a 5-year lease. We're going to give you the first 3 months completely free. We're going to give you the second 3 months at half the rate. And if this is a part I've never heard of anyone doing, he said, if for any reason after 1 year you're not able to fulfill the financial obligations of this lease, we'll wash the lease with no penalties whatsoever. Like, yeah. Well, I've never heard of that.
Sounds like Jesus. It sounds like
it comes better. This is where Jesus shows up, man. Yeah. He says, oh, and by the way, you noticed there's a whole bunch of equipment in there, probably maybe $30,000 or $40,000 worth. I said, yes, sir. He's like, well, we'd like to sell it to you. I said, Mr. Ponder, I need it, and I thank you. He said, but when I tell you that I'm broke, like I'm broke. I'll set up a payment plan with you of some sort, but I want it, I need it, but I don't have any. He said, I think you can figure it out. I talked to the owner, and we're going to sell every single bit of that equipment to you for $1. $1. Like, I can come up with that. I got you, brother.
Yeah.
And so I had my chance, man. But I'd given this man my word. And so this is kind of where it all transitions to why we're here today. Is I'd given this man my word that I was going to make this work. I knew nothing about marketing and sales, nothing. So the only thing I could think of is like, all right, I need a website, right? Because that's cheap. People just call you or they show up. So I had this like $400 green 2001 Chevy Lumina. Windows didn't work. AC didn't work. Only one headlight worked. Like piece of crap that I would drive. I couldn't afford Wi-Fi, right? I couldn't afford internet access. I had this little laptop, probably cost $150, $200 at a pawn shop. And so I was like, I got to figure out how to build a website. So I would drive from where my little apartment was. Every single night, I'd put my girls to sleep. And I'd put their 2 bottles up, so if they woke up, their bottles would be right there, and they could just start sipping on the bottles and go back to sleep, right? And I'd pull up right?
I've done that.
This is a little dad
prop
trick
up with
there.
a little blanket underneath the bottle. Yeah.
So I'll pull up to where the what do you call it? Where the little coffee is, the coffee part of Barnes and Noble. You know, where they sell coffee. So I pull up right there, a little cafe. I pull up to the closest I could to the cafe. They're closed, right? And I could connect to their Wi-Fi, steal their Wi-Fi. So I get there and I Googled all night long how to build a website, how to get #1 in Google, how to get #1 in YouTube, or how to get #1 in Bing and Yahoo and all these things. And it was trial and error. And I built this thing from the scratch by Google and YouTube trying to figure this shit out. And lo and behold, I figured it out. I built my website. It converted. I figured out how to make it convert, and I got #1 in all of those locally. You get #1 in all the organic rankings. So that led to 18 months later, I'd done my first $1.2 million. And the beautiful part about it was I had my girls with me the entire time. Like I'm sitting there, they're still 9, 10, 11, 12 months old, and they're going through, as I'm getting clients, they're coming in, I have a pallet set up in my little office in the back, and they're in there sleeping or playing, and I'm out there training clients. Like I'm a one-man shop, so I had to learn efficiency in sales, in automation, in marketing, and because I'm still doing it all, right? Yeah. And I didn't hire anybody for a long time. The very first person I hired was just an assistant, just like an admin assistant to do all the little nuances, which was a brilliant move. I think that's probably one of the best first hires anyone should make when you're scaling a business from nothing. Just my personal advice. But nonetheless, I get it. 18 months later, done 1.2, got another gym, a bigger gym, got another gym, kind of built that whole thing and found it like my passion. Like I love fitness for me. Like I love to work out.
It feels good.
It does. Yeah. I like being the fit dad. I like having energy that most dads don't. I like the confidence it gives me to walk into a room and to have conversations with anybody. I enjoy it. I don't necessarily enjoy it as much as an everyday business. What my passion was the marketing and sales and systematizing that, finding I found my passion through all this. I've never had a dream of becoming an elite marketer. So that led to at first it was just other gyms reaching out to me like, hey dude, Can you help me? Because, I mean, there's people that are like, you know, they had all the capital in the world and they're struggling to do $500,000 a year. And I'm over here fucking crushing it.
Yeah.
And dude, I'm talking about, if you would have saw this gym, although it was a gym first, I don't know why, they had carpet flooring. The first flooring I got was a piece at a time from horse stalls off Craigslist. So none of it matched, like all the carpet floor. I mean, all the rubber flooring was mismatched carpet. Like, it was
a little gritty,
bro.
A little gritty.
It was as gritty as it could be.
But I mean, just to interrupt here real quick. I mean, if you guys notice a couple of things here so far that's happened is, one, when Brad actually went all in and committed, the universe conspired with him to help him find those individuals that would work with him to get to his goal. The guy probably had long hair, beard, and a cloak. Jesus came into his life and said, "Hey, we're going to give you this. This is what's going to happen." It's just funny when somebody goes all in without even having any answers, not knowing what the fuck, who's going to give them a chance. But once you fully commit to something, you'll start seeing things happen. But I think the universe, God, whatever, knows your level of commitment.
Yeah.
You might say verbally that you're committed or you're all in, but your actions may show something completely different.
Right.
That's true though, man. You make enough phone calls, you power through enough rejection, and you keep going. Like, God's gonna put Mr. Ponder in front of somebody. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Your Mr. Ponder's out there once you go all in. Right. Secondly, you found something that ended up being a vehicle to finding the thing that you're ultimately best at.
Right.
Right. And I think not enough people realize that maybe the business that they're in is just a vehicle to get them so far down the track.
That's so true.
To ultimately find what their superpower is or what they're really great at. In most cases, individuals that start their first business, all that is a vehicle to get you to the next thing.
Right.
That might carry you to, first year, 2 years, 3 years. And then as you start playing in business, you'll find out what your zone of genius, so to speak, is, which is ultimately what happened. But if individuals aren't taking action and they're waiting to find their zone of genius or their superpower, they're never going to really know what it is unless you're actually putting action behind something. And again, as long as you're all in, these dominoes will happen in your life. And again, you just might not see it. You might not know what it's going to be, but it just starts with starting.
Right.
And that's exactly what you did in starting with the right mindset. And so I wanted to highlight that because some people might be going down a path right now believing that they're all in and wondering why nothing good is happening. Well, nothing good is happening is because you need to check yourself.
That's right.
You're probably not as in as what you say that you are. Are you willing to make 1 million phone calls knowing for a fact that you're an individual that would be disqualified by 100% of people unless you find Mr. Ponder or whatever his name was, right? But yeah, I mean, a lot of people will write themselves off because they don't feel qualified.
That's true.
Right? You didn't do that. You knew it was going to be difficult. You knew you had to put in a lot of applications or you're going to have to speak to a lot of people and hear a lot of no's and deal with that rejection. But the commitment level was 100%. And that's what ultimately made it happen.
Right.
And so that's the question that people really need to ask themselves. Are you really 100% committed? Are you really putting the action forward that's needed in order to see the success that you say that you want? And that's exactly what Brad did. And so, I mean, it's an amazing story, and there's so many lessons within that story already, and it's not even complete yet.
Well, to touch on that for a minute, I think there's something to be said about feeling the pain. I think most of us live in a way where we try to get, if something burns us, right, or something pains us, we try to get away from
Run from it, avoid it.
Right, but that you don't, in business specifically, in life as a whole, you don't know what you don't know. Right, I didn't know that I needed to learn sales processes. I didn't know that I needed to become a master at Infusionsoft to automate things. I didn't know that I need to learn language patterns and trigger words. I didn't know until
you're in prison. You're just like, I need to be fit and read up on how to get fit, and then everything else will take care of itself. And then you get into real life. There's much more to business, in terms of just looking the part. Right, there's a lot of aspects that you have to know.
But when you really go all in. Like we talked about this yesterday. When you really go all in, like there was a moment, and that's still, I can visualize it to this day. I mean, as vivid as anything that I ever remember, is I'm sitting there with this gym. I'm still in the first few months of it, and every little dollar that comes in, I'm betting on, putting it right back into the business. Every single thing. Well, I have a light bill coming due in my little apartment. It's just me and my 2 little girls, right? And I'm like, I'll figure it out. I need to make this little $200 investment into my gym. It sounds insignificant, but it was a lot. It was all I had. I'm going to put it into the business, and I'll figure out a way to make it in time for the light bill. Well, I didn't, right? So I come home, and I'm bringing my 2 little girls in the door, and I'm like, the lights are off, and it was on a Friday. I remember it was on a Friday because they closed for the weekend.
Departments, yeah,
and so I'm like,
Saturday, Sunday.
So I'm like, well, the Alabama Power was closed on Saturday and Sunday, so there's nothing that you can do then. So I'm calling them like, please, just leave my lights on for the weekend, and I'll figure it out on Monday. And they're like, no. And at this time, I have my little girls are sitting in their car seats. We're in the dark in the apartment, and they start crying or whatever. And I've never been yelled. I was like, shut up. And they both, I mean, they're just infants. They're babies. That they look at me, and I could tell it was the first time they'd ever seen me like lose it for a second.
Frustrated.
And it broke me, bro. I felt the pain, and I got them out of their car seats, and I held them in the dark, leaning up against a little kitchen or a little dining room wall. Didn't even have a dining room table. I'm leaning up against there, and I'm crying like a little baby. And I promise, I was like, I will never put you in this position again. I will never put you in this position again. We had to go all weekend without no lights, but you be damned. That is to this day, my children will never fucking feel that pain. It is because I felt it for them, right? And that is the stuff that spars the creativity you're talking about. Are you really all in? Have you put yourself in a position where losing isn't an option? Because that's going to teach you what you need to know. That you don't know what you need to know at this point. When you feel the pain that real, that's what's going to teach you. These are the things that you need to know to move forward, and that's what's going to give you the power to move forward, regardless of what somebody says, what they think, what you're qualified for. I'm going to find a way to make this shit happen. And I think that's an invaluable skill set for every entrepreneur. You get close to the pain, whatever that pain is. Stop running from it. Go get burnt by it. Feel that pain and let it fuel you. Let it be a fuel for you. And so that led to going into the marketing or the marketing consulting world, where a bunch of gyms started reaching out to me. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll help you. And cool thing was they had money, right? They could pour money into ideas and stuff. And so that started working. That led into other service-based businesses. I started working with them. That led to franchise reaching out to me. And I had the same mentality. Like, if I'm going to work with you, I mean, you've seen it here. Right. Like, we're doing this shit. We've got deadlines. We've got timelines. We're going to do it the right way. We're going to do it this way. And we're going to do it now. And so I was that way. So these gyms started blowing up, these other businesses. Then I started working with a franchise. They blew up. And that was when I got the attention of Frank Kern, which is in the marketing world, is like the godfather. Yeah. So he reached out to me to do some consulting for him. So I did that for like 30 days. And he's like, dude, like, I want you to just work with me. Yeah. So I ended up exiting my gyms. We came up with an agreement, and I became his chief marketing officer for a couple of years. And that opened up tons of doors, tons of learning opportunities. We're working with clients in 44 different countries, and you're just getting to see all these different businesses. I'm able to use all this skill set to help all these businesses around the world. And that was an amazing time. And so worked with him up until his partnership with Grant Cardone. And then I resigned and started my own agency. And then recently was able to successfully exit that. And now just do consulting, just get to spend time. I got 5 beautiful kids. My twins are now 9 years old. So all this has happened in a pretty short amount of time. Right. And my twins are 9. I have a 5-year-old boy, a 3-year-old boy, a 6-month-old little girl, and the most amazing, incredible wife in the world, Presley. And anyways, man, that's like, now I just spend my time doing what I love the most, and that's pouring into my kids, making certain that I teach them the lessons that I've learned by going through the fire, setting them up the best that I know how for success, and then coming in and working with cool people like yourselves and helping them scale their businesses. So
that's one of the things I've admired the most about you, dude, is like, I didn't know what kind of dad you were when I was like, dude, I need to hire you for some consulting, right? But after developing a relationship with you and paying more attention to your social media, you know, I'm like, dude, this is my kind of people, right? And I've even told my wife, man, I'm like, man, like, I gravitate to people like that, right? But when we were sitting in one of our consulting calls and you're like, hold on 1 second, my daughter's calling me, you know, and you're like, and then you talk to her and you get back on, you're like, sorry, man, when my baby's called, like, the world stops, right? Like, I got to find out, like, they're calling me for something and there's nothing more important than that. And I was like, but dude, I respect that. Like, a lot of people would run their business like, you know, like I've been guilty of, where I'm like, oh, babe, I'll call you right back. Or, you know, text my daughter like, hey, is it urgent? Like, let me call you right back. Like, you're like, no, man, like I put that first. Right. And some people might be turned off by that, but I was like, dude, that actually just tells me more of the type of person that you are, right? So I think that's super admirable, man. And I love people that they are just true to what their priorities really are.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, You could tell by just, like Kale said, looking at your social media, that your family's your world, and you do an amazing job at showing them that, right? Yeah. So they won't ever have to question that, right? There's a lot of people that grow up in situations just like you did, or tough situations where maybe parents were absent because they're trying to put food on the table or whatever, but your intentions are with your family, that pulls people in because one, you're an example for other people. Like, this guy's putting his family as a top priority, and then you just sharing your story, you could just tell that also is a big motivating, driving factor of your success. Right. If you didn't have those 2 little kids that depended on you, you could have easily quit and give up on yourself.
I agree.
But when you got those eyeballs staring at you, that you could sleep with no lights, or, deal with no lights on at the house for a couple days or a week or 2, and it's no big deal. But when you're providing for people, your children, it adds that initial, that fire, that spark that somebody really needs. That, I know that's when I started taking money, business, life seriously, is when my wife called and said, "Hey, I'm pregnant," and my first response was, "Oh fuck," I'm still.
Do I change my number?
I'm still GTL, bro, Gym Tan Laundry. You know what I mean? I'm still trying to do the Jersey Shore shit. But let's switch gears real quick. To have somebody like you on the podcast and not ask a few questions, I think it would be a disservice. So, what are some of the things that you initially identify when you're working with somebody, consulting with them, marketing wise? What are some of the common mistakes that you see individuals making in their marketing? Like, are they going a little too direct? Like, "Hey, I own an accounting firm. You should hire us." Like, just direct at it. Like, "Hey, is that, talk about that type of a process in terms of setting up a campaign," because I don't think people understand everything that goes into it.
Right.
Because when you start peeling back the layers behind the scenes and see all the writing on the walls and mapping it out, right? Because most people will just go to Facebook and kick up an ad and then just throw money at it, and then nothing
some dumb
happens.
image or something, and we've thrown a lot of stuff at the wall and hope things stick as well in the past. And there's levels to it. We figured out some things that work, right? Yeah. But dude, there's a lot of boring industries out there. Wealth advisors, financial advisors, accountants, all that shit, insurance agencies, and
some of the non-sexy.
And you got to figure out how to stand out. And I don't know, you probably have some nuggets, right?
Yeah, you just said the very first thing in marketing. Most people, their marketing. They try to mix marketing and sales, and you need to understand those are 2 completely different ecosystems. Obviously, they complement each other. You have to have one to feed the other.
It's the yin and yang, but it's not
right. They're not the same thing, right? Putting up a video for like a Facebook ad, and you're trying to sell your product in the video. You're fighting a losing battle. That's not the place or platform for that. It is like.
To get awareness.
Yeah, well, to get more and create intrigue. So even in that side of things, let's go deep for a second. Okay. In any type of ad, like this is something that your people can take away right now. Any type of ad that you create, and if you have an agency that's doing it differently, fire them. Right? This is the way that it should be done. I don't give a shit who disagrees with me. The data proves me right. You have 4 different elements of any effective ad in the world. And that is first, like, let's just take a Facebook or Instagram ad for example, or YouTube or anything, LinkedIn, whatever. So your first is your imagery or video. It serves one purpose only, right? And that is to be a pattern interrupt, to get someone's attention. The average American is presented with 800,000 pieces of media per day. Per day. Think about that.
So how are you going to stand out?
How are you going to get that person to stop? It doesn't matter how good your product is. It doesn't matter how good your service is, how good your sales system is. It doesn't matter how great your marketing is as a whole. If you can't get someone to stop and listen to you, it's all for naught. Like, it doesn't matter. Right. It's irrelevant.
One thing that really you taught me that really helped me finally, like, oh shit, I get it, is that like Facebook and them, their apps are designed to scroll with your thumb because you can get through more advertising quicker, right? And so like literally you're scrolling with your thumb to get through all this feed as fast as you can, and that's what they want. And so it's like you only have a fraction of a second to get someone to stop. Like, oh, I want to see that. And just you telling me that the science behind that is the thumb scroll for the fastest way to get marketing through people's eyeballs is what was like clicked to me. Like, holy shit, we really do only have a fraction of a second.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look at every social media, they scroll that way, and that's science has proven that's the fastest way to get through. Yeah. How do they generate revenue? By delivering as many ads as possible. Right. Yeah. That's what they charge for. Right. So they're wanting to get as many as possible. That is the fastest way. So you have to find a way to get someone to stop. That's what what that image, the image doesn't need to sell your product or video. It's not there to sell your product or service. It's not there to do any other thing. That initial image, the very first thing that they see, has no other purpose than to serve as a pattern interrupt. It don't have to be related to your product or service at all. Nothing. Has one job and one job only. That's to get someone to stop. The second thing is the headline, right? And the headline, again, is not to sell your product. Like if your headlines of all of your advertisings out there is like, get 3 for $99 or what, you're like, no, it is to create intrigue. It is to generate curiosity, right? That is it, because you're talking milliseconds of decisions that are being made in the human brain, right? So you want them to stop. The next thing, their eye tracking software, we're just talking about this, proves that the next place that they're typically going to go is to the headline. So because it's like, oh, this is like, think about the psychology of a human. Oh, this is odd. They're stopping at the image or video. They look at the headline. What is it about? Now you need to create intrigue, generate curiosity. When you do that effectively, what do? They go to the copy to read about whatever it is that you have or you're offering. Again, the copy, and maybe it's a script of the video, isn't to sell your product. It is to do one thing. The copy on the ad or the copy in the VSL or whatever it is to sell the click. The click to get them off platform and into your sales funnel, right? Now your sales page, its job is to sell your product.
Gotcha.
So marketing, the biggest mistake people make in marketing is they're trying to condense those two things into one singular platform. Whereas number one, they have two completely different jobs. Yes, they complement each other. They're the yin and yang that make the whole world work. But even in this marketing field itself, there's 4 different elements. You have the pattern interrupt, you have the headline to generate curiosity, and you have the copy in order to sell the click. Now, the fourth one is the one that I think most people overlook, and I generally think is probably the most powerful. And that is the comment section of any advertisement that you do online, right? And people are like, what? What do you mean the comment section? Well, here's the reality is you can do all those first 3 things amazingly well. And if you don't pay attention and come across as a human in your comment sections, not as a corporate, not, replying as this
almost
corporate, sophisticated,
like a bot. Like, hi, how are you?
Yeah, that bunch of bullshit.
Thanks for inquiring.
People, I don't care what you're selling. If it's a $10 or $100,000 ticket, people still buy from people. And they want to know that you're someone that they can relate to and they can trust. Well, what happens, I'll give you a prime example. What happens if you go to Amazon right now? What's the last thing you bought on Amazon?
I don't buy it on Amazon.
His wife does, though.
Yeah, I'm a bad example. Like, I get crap for not having Amazon accounts. I don't
buy
have
shit
Venmo.
on there all the time,
I don't do
man.
any of that
Okay.
stuff. I don't,
What about you, Kale? What's the last?
Me and my wife just ordered silverware.
All right, so if you go on Amazon, you look for silverware, right? You're going to have, and you have the specific set that you want. I promise you there's multiple sellers of that silverware on there. Now, which one are you going to buy from?
One that has the best reviews and the best comments.
You're going to click, because they all have the same product, same price point. They've generated your curiosity. You click on them. Which one are you actually going to give your money to? You're going to go to the review section and see who has bought from this person before. How have they interacted? What was their experience? That's what the fucking comment section is on every single one of your advertisements. People that were almost sold on the click. They're like, man, this sounds intriguing, but let me check the comments and see what somebody else has experienced. If you have just ignored that and let that run its course and not engaged and controlled that, you're missing out on a ton of revenue, right? Because just coming across in a humanized way and making certain that you're reflecting your business in a positive manner in the comment section can be extremely powerful and pick up so many lost sales of people who are almost there.
So you're saying in some cases it captures their attention, they read the header, and then they might start poking around in the comment section, and then they see some of your replies, and they're like, damn, this company actually replies to everybody, and they're
like,
just
well, not even that, but like
good company.
Exactly.
Even on top of
and then
that,
they start clicking.
Let's say someone that's looking on one of our ads, and they're not even looking for a new accountant, but they're just like, oh, well, I want to check out the reviews. And they see in there that someone wrote a review like, oh, it's so nice having an accounting firm that's not boring, that actually returns my calls. Now they're going to be like, oh, shit, okay, that's confirming. I'm going to actually switch accountants, right? Like, that's what they're looking for. It's confirmation.
So would it be a good idea when you put an ad out is have a few people with a Facebook account comment on it?
I mean, it certainly will help. It helps the algorithm as well. I mean, we can go into nuances of it.
Is that some like a strategy that people use where there's like 2 or 3 accounts that they have that go onto there like, love this service, and then you reply back,
Some people do. I like doing things the right way. I like creating great content that's going to generate a response.
Anyways,
and just make certain that like you have a dedicated person that goes in there. I'll tell you who does an incredible job of this, and they do it on Twitter, is Wendy's. Have you?
Oh my God.
Wendy's is the gold standard.
Dude.
That if you want to
talk
great
shit,
yes, they will roast you.
Real.
They will roast you. They will talk, but they come across as human. Like they're like, oh man, this is somebody I could kick it with. This is somebody, but it's a huge corporation.
Yeah.
Right. But look at the way study how they interact. There's a science to it, and that humanizes a brand. It makes you more trustworthy. It makes you more believable, and it will absolutely increase your sales.
And some of their shit has been shared.
Oh my gosh.
Ton, because it's just funny the way that they respond. It's not like corporate professional.
Right.
They talk shit too.
Well, see,
they're keeping it real.
And I'll give you like this. This is a little bit maybe too deep for some people, but it's huge. Like the number one thing that makes that social media platform desires is length of time on platform. They want you to be on your platform as long as possible because that means they can deliver more ads to you and they can make more revenue, right? Very simple.
Yeah.
Very simple business model. Well, if you start playing by their rules, right? You have all these people like, oh, here's a hack, here's a this. No. Like, fuck all that. Go find out what they want, and then cater to that. Well, they want people to be on the platform more. So in the comment section, when you go to comment section and someone comments and you respond to that comment in an open-ended manner, right? Meaning they're
making them want to reply again.
Exactly. So they come back, which means like if you were on one of my ads and you saw something, you commented, well, then by the time I see it, I'm probably not on the platform anymore. So when I do, I'm going to go and I'm going to respond in an open-ended, humanized manner, like that's going to generate another response from you. What did I do? I brought you from off platform to on platform. This thing called ad recall, which is the biggest thing. It's the biggest thing that can move the needle on your cost of ads than any other thing, right? It will lower your cost of ads because what Facebook, Instagram, anybody, any social media platform, what do they want? They want people on their platform. So if your ads are taking people from off the platform back onto the platform, your ad cost for deliverability, your cost for CPMs will drop dramatically because you're giving the platform what they want.
Right.
And you're just doing
They're rewarding you for it.
Responding in your comments. So what did cost you maybe $34 to get 1,000 impressions now costs you $10. Well, if you think about that at scale, when you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, that can dramatically impact your bottom line.
Absolutely.
All because you were engaging in the comment section and bringing people that had commented something on your ad. They saw a notification of your comment. They came back on the app, and the average time on Facebook's, if you go on the app, is like 21, 22 minutes. So that means you gave them 21 to 22 minutes to deliver ads that they didn't have. They only have it because of your ad. So what does that mean? They want your ads seen more.
Right.
It costs you less. Like you got to play the game, bro. It's playing chess. And when you put all these elements together, this is the type of stuff that can take a company from 2 million to 10 million or 4 million to 15 million. It's little things like this and doing them in a strategic manner that can change the game.
Absolutely. That's so powerful, man. Like, I mean, think about it. They're smart. They're some of the smartest people in the world. They're going to build their platform and their algorithm to reward the people that they look as their partner. You know, let's say, come on. So, and I never thought about it until I've hired the man.
Well, I think a lot of people just go boost post.
Right.
You know, and we've had people message us like, hey, I've boosted my post, but I'm not really getting a whole lot of results from it. Like they're just believing that Facebook is just automatically going to put it in front of the right people because they say, what is it? Like my followers or something like that. Like show this to people that are like my following or whatever it is. Right. And anytime that I did that when we were trying to scale the Instagram account, it didn't work worth a shit. But anytime I got in depth, like the exact type of person that I was trying to target, the age, the demographic, male, female, interests, all of that. That's when we actually started, scaling and seeing results when we were initially starting the Instagram page. Would you say that you see more success for ads on Facebook or Instagram, or is it good to do both? Or like talk a little bit about that, because some people just do a hybrid, right? Since they're owned by the exact same company, the same ad could run on both platforms instantly if you choose to do that. But do you see a better conversion if you just stick to Facebook or just stick to Instagram, or does it matter industries, verticals, that type of situation?
Price point, right?
Price point. Gotcha.
Lower ticket items, specifically in the e-com space, are typically going to do better on Instagram.
Like clothing type companies, like
hats, anything e-com like that. Yeah. Anything I would say over a $49 price point, you're going to do better in Facebook, YouTube, and right now TikTok. TikTok's freaking bonkers. Yeah. Like it is amazing.
I need to get up to date on that.
I'm telling you, it is. If you are ignoring TikTok right now, you're losing money. Like it is an incredible asset. And that, if I could just give you frame or something to think about, I think one of the most powerful things a business owner who's a mature business owner who's looking to really scale, the way that you need to think about marketing assets is just that, as an asset, right? You don't have to have 1,000 ads to scale your business. You just need 2 or 3, maybe 4, but they need to be done with the thought and the effort that I just described, right? And you put all of that in there, they can run for years. Yeah. I can show you case study after case study after case study of these ads that work for years at an incredible profit. You don't need thousands of variations. You just need to treat it as an asset, which means you're not just clicking a button and putting posts. Like this, y'all got this huge, beautiful, like, I don't know what, 10, 15,000 square foot office space here. Like you wouldn't just be like, I'm going to click a button and whatever they give me. No, you're going to put time. Look at all the time you put into the artwork, the offices, it's because it's an asset for your business, right? You have to treat your marketing material the same way.
Right.
Like you don't need 1,000 of them, but you need to treat it like an asset. You need to invest the time, the energy, the effort, and the expertise in getting it done right so that when you do hit the button, it performs the way that it should perform to bring you the attention and profit that you want to on whatever platform you are, and it can do that for an indefinite amount of time. Like that's really the game, is treating it like an asset and not just like, this thing I'm going to do.
So if you're not investing into, the time, effort, utilizing information to your advantage, and you're just hitting boost posts, that can't be an asset because you're not spending time or money.
That's right.
Really to have your video or your ad perform. You're just posting something and hope that you win the lottery.
Yeah, that's it.
Another thing I took away from that is when you said a mature business owner that's going to treat it as an asset, is you've got to get rid of your prejudgments. Like, we haven't really jumped into TikTok because we're like, it's a kid's freaking platform, but we've never actually dove into the data to see from a mature business owner standpoint of like, okay, well, what is the average time people spend on the platform? And like, what is the real demographics? And is my target audience there? And it is, as I've been diving into, I'm like, oh my gosh, man, there's financial guys on there doing tax tips getting hundreds of thousands of views. Right. But we're like, we didn't want to jump on the goofy little TikTok kids dancing app, right? But it's not just that, right? And so we never really dove into it. And so when you said a mature business owner, it's like, that's part of that. You got to be mature enough to be like, let me look at the data before I make a prejudgment.
That's true. Very true.
So you talked about, having 3 or 4 ads that could have just run for years, right? We found that to be true on 60-day credit repair. Right. So, and again, some of them don't work out. Right. You'll record some and it's terrible. Yeah. Right. It cost you, $15 a lead on this one, but this ad's $5 a lead or whatever it is. Right. And the data will give you the information, whether it's garbage or not. Right.
That's right.
Because it'll tell you what you're spending per lead. And obviously the lower one's the better one. But at the same time, I think people need to also keep in mind, not every lead is equal at the same time. So we've also made the mistake of seeing an ad that's the cheapest, but does it convert?
Right.
Or are we just really pulling in just cheap garbage leads?
That's true.
Is it better to spend $15 a lead and get quality to where we can convert? So there's all of these metrics that you kind of have to keep an eye on, because a cheap lead doesn't mean it's the best lead.
Well, it goes back to what you said earlier, the yin and yang. Now, they're not, this marketing and sales are not the same thing, but they absolutely feed off each other, and you have to look at the entire ecosystem just for that, because maybe you're getting leads here for $5, but they're converting for a product. Maybe you're getting this, it is converting, but it's converting for an average order value of $2,000. Over here, you're getting leads for $45. However, it's converting for a product for $20,000, right? Well, I would just rather continue to pour more into this $45 lead. But that's because I have a full picture of the ecosystem. Yeah, and then it's not, we're also not talking about just the first sale. Again, for business owners, like the fortune, I know you've said this before, and it's so true. The fortune is in the follow-up. If you're trying to live and breathe off the first transaction, you're running the rat race, man. Get out of that. It's the second, third, fourth, fifth sale. The second dollar is always cheaper than the first, right? That you can make from someone. So you have to structure your business to where, man, the first transaction, I'm just at best, I'm just trying to break even. Maybe
in some cases it's a lost leader.
Maybe it is. It very well could be. Because if I have my back end and I have an entire view of the ecosystem and I have marketing, internal marketing now, set up for the people who've already paid to be my customer for something, I don't care if they've just swiped a card to give me $1.
Yeah.
That's a transaction. Like they've taken their credit card out and done a transaction with me. Okay, there's a lot of value in that. Hell yeah, I'm going to sell that person till I'm blue in the face from now until kingdom come, right? And if you look at that, also from what you said, you look at the lead cost. Well, maybe this lead over here over 30 days or 60 days only brings about this much revenue. But if you're properly tracking the sales process, maybe over 2 years, this lead over here that costs a little bit more is bringing you exponentially more through a 2-year life cycle. Right? It's all taking all those things into account to make data-driven decisions. So you said that a second ago, and I think for me personally, the best thing that I ever did, and I was forced to do this because of the situation that I learned all this in, was to take my ego completely out of the picture.
Right? No matter what you thought was
I didn't give a shit. Data. I'm looking at data. I think this ad sucks. I think the copy sucks. I think the data says it works. The data's giving me this result. Put everything behind that.
Dude, we've seen 100%. That too. We've seen that in old ads and stuff. We're just like, fuck, we hate this landing page, or we hate this, or we hate that. But it converts.
Build a prettier one next to it, and it doesn't do shit.
Yeah, when we make one that we like, at our level, because we're like, dude, if we saw that, we're not going to do shit with it.
Right. Yeah.
But we're not necessarily marketing to us.
Yep.
Again, people need to keep all of this top of mind. Just because you like it doesn't mean the market won't like it. Just because you think it looks like shit doesn't mean you shouldn't run a test on it.
That's true.
Again, let the data tell you if it's good or not. You don't decide whether it's good or not.
Bro, it's so true.
Let the consumer tell you, because in some cases we've even been told, like in some cases, shittier sites, landing pages or whatever, convert better.
I would say 8 out of 10 times they do.
Like versus this over the top, beautiful. You spend all this money making it look like the most professional corporate company in the entire world. In their eyes, maybe it seems like it's too big of a company to do business. I don't know what the science is behind the psychology of it, but God, we had some landing pages that me and Kale absolutely hated that we wanted to redo. And we'd talk to people that were in marketing. Hey, should we do? And they would look at our cost per lead and they're like, it converts at 20%? They're like, dude, just run with it. Who gives a shit what you feel about it? If it's working, it's working, right? Because we always wanted to try to tweak and change it, make it a little bit better, and maybe get the conversions to 25% or whatever. Would you say that that's something that you see as well, is sometimes people rest a little too much when they find something that's working and they stop tweaking and trying to make it better and bring down the cost? Or if it's just working, don't touch it?
Let's tie this into the name of the podcast. I think a real business owner, right? A real business owner is self-aware enough to know when their ego is driving decisions. And a lot of the times when you want the big, beautiful website and you want all the aesthetics and you want all the pretty things and the bells and whistles and the apps and the shit that's not going to drive revenue, or there's no data that says that it will. You have to, as a real business owner, you have to say, you know what, let me put my ego aside and just make decisions as a true CEO based off the data. And I think that's a filter we can all look at ourselves through. Because it's not a one-time decision, right? It happens constantly. Should I do this? Well, is my ego feeding that? Do I want it to look a certain way for whatever reason?
For friends or family,
just care about my image.
I'm doing so great.
Or am I just making decisions based off what's best for the health and growth of the company? Period. Yeah. And if we can discipline ourselves to evaluate everything through that filter, we are a real business owner, and you're gonna scale a whole lot faster than the business owner down the street who's made a little bit of money, has a little bit extra to spend. Now they want to make everything big and beautiful. It's the one that is able to discipline themselves to make that decision based off data,
even if they disagree with it, but the data shows otherwise.
Especially if they disagree with it.
Yeah, check their ego and run with the data.
100%.
Let me ask you this: in terms of individuals hiring SEO companies, because that falls under marketing, right? Sure. We don't really like it because we've tried it, but I'd love to hear your take on SEO. I mean, I think the issue that we had is, we're more nationwide, right? And so it's a little bit harder to get a presence SEO wise when you're doing business in pretty much all 50 states, right?
Sure.
Versus maybe a mom and pop shop that only has presence in a small town. Maybe that small town will be easy to game the SEO. Talk about maybe, one, your belief in SEO. Is it still work? Is it still relevant? And secondly, in what cases does it work best, and what cases won't it work best?
How do you not get screwed?
Yeah, how do you not get screwed? Because we've spent money on several SEO, and it just never really seems to pan out. And it's always when we actually spend money on ads that it works better, rather than paying somebody to do, some whatever they're doing behind the scenes to get certain amount of links, backlinks to our site, whatever. We don't understand it. We just
well, let me say this. I do believe there's value in SEO.
Okay.
I do believe it is only for a specific segment of business owners, and I think that means you have to have a very you have to be comfortable with a long runway.
Yeah.
Right. You're not looking for a direct response sale today, and you're comfortable floating that financially. You're cool with that.
Long runway, as in at least probably 6 to 18 months minimum.
Yes. Yeah,
I
would agree with that.
Yeah.
And also know that like there is no, here's the problem. There is no immediate gratification there. And you have to have a higher ticket item for it to make financial sense, right? You have to, like, if you're selling something that's just a few $100, a few $1,000s, financially, I don't think it's not that
$5,000 a month on SEO for a year or two on a.
It's
product.
not that you can't make it work. It's should you make it work, right? You could over a long period of time, if you just wanted to, run through a brick wall. You run into it long enough, eventually you'll probably get through the thing. But should you, right? Well, you could just buy a fucking missile and shoot the wall down and walk through the thing. So there's a time and place for it. I do believe, now this is where I do believe SEO in the world of YouTube is extremely powerful right now, and you should put some effort and energy into that. Like YouTube is just over the past 3 to 6 months has made tremendous strides in the quality conversions that it's providing its advertisers. I think YouTube is making a big comeback, if you will. Because of the threat of TikTok, that's got a lot of people's attention in the world of social media.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are trying to hey, TikTok's getting too big, too fast, too efficient. Their user base is matured. They're spending money. Their ad platform is by far the best native ad platform I've ever seen in my life anywhere. Wow. And that's got the attention. This is me as a marketer.
Even the big dogs,
they are very well aware.
They're just they're going to come in and take a big piece of the market share
look
if
at
we
Instagram's,
don't make things better, if we don't continue to.
Well, here's the thing. All right, so we talked about time on platform.
Yeah.
It is the number one thing that drives social media, because the more that you're on the platform, the more ads I can deliver to you, and the more money that I can make.
Yes.
That's why Facebook has been the conglomerate. That's why Instagram's been number 2. Facebook has, for the past decade, held it, because every other social media platform is 6 to 7, maybe 8 minutes of average user time. Facebook's always been around 20 to 23, somewhere in that range, right? So they've been light
double
years,
or triple the
light
amount
years
of
ahead of
time,
everything.
yeah.
That's why Snapchat can never make money, right? They still don't make money, a profit, because you're not on the platform long enough for them to deliver ads to make a profit. They never will be profitable. However, TikTok comes along. Now remember what I just told you. Average is 6 to 8. Facebook's over here killing the marketplace at 21 to 23 minutes for the past decade per user session. Guess what TikTok's is right now and has been for the past year?
I won't say because you already told me.
30 minutes?
51 minutes. That's not just 51 minutes that you're on their platform. That's time that you're not spending on Facebook, that you're not spending on Instagram, that you're not spending on LinkedIn. They are killing the market right now, and they have all of them shaking in their boots. It's not my opinion. That's just data.
Yeah.
People are getting on there and they're staying on there and they are hooked. And their platform for ads is insanely good. So now you have YouTube we got to do something. Facebook, and if you notice, Facebook is pushing inside Reels is an Instagram thing. If you go in your Facebook platform right now, you'll see Reels. Yeah. Why? Because Facebook is we got to catch up. We got to get Instagram Reels to catch up with TikTok.
Those little minor
I'm telling you, that is what the reason they're doing that is because of what TikTok's doing to the marketplace right now. It is phenomenal. To me, I'm just enamored by it. It's amazing when any company comes across and here's the gold standard, and nobody's even close to it. Facebook's crushing it, 21, 23 minutes. No one's even close. And you have TikTok show up fuck that. Hold my beer. Watch this. 51 minutes. And it's amazing. Anyways, so that's why you see a lot. I do think there's a lot of effort and energy and value can be found in doing SEO properly for YouTube and even TikTok. There's things that you can do there. TikTok is still being figured out because it's still a growing native platform. But yeah, I think it's there.
Is it cheap?
Cheap? Yes, by far.
Because
early Facebook days cheap.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I mean, when we were running campaigns 2009, 2010, with a business funding company, they were cheap. Mm-hmm. They were, and then 5 years into it, 6
Google
years
was killing us, and then we're like, Facebook's
literally
gold.
going from like $8 to $12 a lead to 50 to 100 because bigger companies started playing in the business funding space, and so that's when we switched gears and just focused completely on credit repair. But it's the same thing on Facebook. Early days, shit was super cheap, and again, it just continues to increase right over time because now they have a large market share and they can continue to bump prices in order to get in front of people. And the more companies that are marketing on there in your industry, it's going to drive the price up. Right. So individuals right now that are in business, they should be focusing on TikTok and trying to, find that lightning in a bottle.
And I believe it's a great testing ground because the organic reach there is astronomical. Yeah. You can have 0 followers and go put up there, and TikTok does what no other platform does. They're going to show it to at least 100 to 1,000 people.
Just to get their reaction.
Well, dude, the year. So I've been on TikTok for 6 months now, and they have your following, right? But then they have your page, which is all that stuff, right? And that's actually where I've preferred to spend my time. I don't want, even the people I'm like, oh, I actually like them, I follow them. I never go over there. I always stay on the your page. Right. I want to see all the new stuff,
right? That's like an explore page almost.
Yes, but you're
exactly.
You get on there and you'll spend most of your time because the algorithm knows what you want more than you do.
Exactly.
It's powerful.
It's genius.
But here's also something, just taking us back to marketing. Right? We've spent a lot of time over the past few days talking about this. The key to effective marketing, right, is we talked about the elements, but what if I could simplify it all? It is to be entertaining. Entertainment is the number one source of anything in the world.
That's why people are on TikTok.
Right. Well, that's why the NBA exists, the NFL. Yeah. That's why the MLB exists.
Some of the biggest
That's why
companies
Hollywood
in the world.
exists. The entertainment industry is the biggest industry in the world. If you understand, us as humans, we genuinely desire, we have a need to be entertained. Right. So
it's
marketing,
almost like a little escape from reality. Like your problems go away when you're looking at something and you're entertained. You're not thinking about the problems, you're drawn in. Right.
And so effective marketing does that. One of the biggest mistakes people make is they just try to sell their product. No, you got to entertain. Yeah. Right. Billy Jean does this incredibly well. Yeah. If you ever follow him, he does an extremely good job of this. But it's all about entertainment. TikTok gives you a platform to test entertainment ideas quickly and efficiently and for nothing, for free. You can throw a 15-second video up there and hey, I might think this works. Does it get any traction or not? If it does, turn it into an ad, push some money behind it. But it's able to give you a very real-time response on, is what I'm trying to put out there entertaining enough for people to engage with it and to be interested and to want more.
Just to piggyback off of that real quick, when we were doing the Instagram thing, initially starting to try to grow real business owners, how I would determine which one I was going to spend money on to try to say, hey, we exist. Not necessarily, we weren't selling anything. It was just basically like, hey, we exist, follow the account. So it was like, go to profile, right? So we were just trying to grow the awareness of the page, not necessarily sell a widget or hats or whatever. We weren't selling anything. But what I would do is let the data tell me which one. And how I would find the data is when we would make a post. If one got 500 likes and this other post got 1,500 likes, I'm like, well, the people are telling me this one they like better. The majority of people are liking this post, not this post. So where am I going to put the money? I'm going to put the money on the one that 1,500 people liked in order for them to, for us anyways, to spend money on to get more awareness to the page. And so I would initially let our following tell me whether or not that post was good.
Brilliant.
Based upon the views, based upon the likes. And then when our following likes it that much, then I'm going to spend money on it because I know if they like it, then like-minded people just like them are going to maybe follow that page at that point. And again, it goes back to the point of letting your data tell you the information that you need and utilize data to your advantage because it does exist. That's all these platforms are built on is just data. They want to give you as much data in order for you to market to your direct customer or the individual because they want your ad dollars.
That's right.
Right.
Ad dollars, they want you bringing people back on the platform we talked about. All of it.
All of that, So just to kind of wrap things up a little bit, what advice would you give to, let's say, a 1 to 5 year entrepreneur that might be struggling at this point in time? Because there's a lot of people that are struggling. They don't have some things figured out. Yeah, marketing mainly. I say businesses only have one problem, and it's leads. You're either not getting enough or you've got too much. It never really just comes in at a perfect trickle exactly how you could grow. Like when you first start out, you're like, I need customers, I need leads, I need to, and that's your problem. And then when you get the marketing figured out, you can turn it up and you can generate too many leads, right? And then now you've got to build your back end or fulfillment to be able to satisfy that volume, right? And so what's one piece of advice that you'd give a young entrepreneur, whether it's a marketing or just mindset or whatever it is, because you've done some of the same things we've done in terms of investing into, like-minded people by joining entrepreneurship groups. You started working for Frank Kern. You wanted to put yourself in environments where you were around people that were doing bigger shit than you, that you absorb good information from, that helped turn you into the individual that you are today. So what's a gem that you could give these youngsters that might be struggling right now?
Well, I'll leave you with this, and it's one that can serve you in many aspects of your business, right? And that is, and go with me here, that is to learn your financial why and make it a practice within your company as you build and grow. Hire behind your financial why as well. What I mean by that is it gives you data points to help you make decisions, right? If I understand my financial why, and I'm not saying like, oh, what's my why? My why is my kids and my family. Okay, fucking great. That's all of ours. Yeah. But no, what is it? Like, put a monetary figure. What is it specifically that you want for them? What is the financial figure that's going to take for that to happen? Mm-hmm. What is the amount of profit margin that you have to have for that? Like, you need to look into the numbers of your business and figure out what are those things. What is the timeline that you need that amount of money for that particular thing to be fulfilled? What is that? What is the financial why? And then back down into what do you need each and every month, each and every quarter, in order for that to take place. Now, every single month and every single quarter, your game plan is very specific, and it's tied to the things that you value the most. If I want to take my children, like we're going to Hawaii for New Year, Christmas and New Year's this year, and it's to take my family they're bougie now. I got some bougie kids now. It's a financial, but I have to know.
They don't got to worry about the lights no more.
No, they're
worried about which island they going to.
Look, my daughter, one of my 9-year-olds in equestrian, she was in love with this horse $400,000.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Yeah. but bougie, right? Yeah. But hey, I love it because their happiness is what brings me happiness. But you have to identify what it specifically is your. Do you want a dream home? When do you want it? How much does it cost? How much do you need for the down payment? After that down payment, what is the mortgage going to cost you? What do you actually need? What is the financial figure that you need for your financial why? And then you break it down to what do I need to do on a monthly basis to get that. So then when you're looking at marketing, when you're looking at sales, when you're looking at investing in these assets, it makes sense. Like, if I can put $1 in here and get $5 out there, and I can do this many times, it helps me get to this goal, which is tied to something that I'm intimately aware of, that I'm intimately desiring, right? That I have a specific thing. Now, practices on yourself is step one. Mm-hmm. Where it gets really, really good is when you start hiring and managing like this. Right? Meaning, when you bring somebody in the interview process and you think that you might hire them, go through that same process with them. Right? When you hire someone, let's say you're going to hire this person. All right, what is your financial why? Maybe it's a single mom over here who is living in an apartment and wants to live in a nice home for their kids so their kids can have a backyard to play in. Right? Okay. Well, you want to move there when? In the next 6 months? Yes. Okay. Well, let's talk about your financial picture right now. How much does it cost for you to get the down payment for that? What are you going to need for that home in that neighborhood? Let's look it up. Let's go on Zillow right now and figure that out. Okay. So you're going to need this for a down payment. How much do you have now? I have nothing. Okay. So we need to have this amount for a nest egg and this amount for a down payment. All right, what's the difference between the mortgage and your current rent? What is that? All right, and then what are the other expenses? Let's lay that out. Okay, so you want to do this in 6 months or 1 year time? Okay, great. So that's what you need. So that means you need to make, and here's your other expenses throughout your household for you to take care of your kids and take care of your family. And so this is what you need to make each month to do this. If you hire salespeople and commission, this is fucking brilliant. And you say, all right, so here's what you need to make each month in order to get to this thing. Now, number one, you are creating a comp plan not around your business, not around your desire. You're designing a comp plan for their desires, the things that matter most to them. I promise you, nobody else has done that for them. There's going to be an affinity and attachment to you because remember, this is happening in the interview process. They're like, oh my God, these people care more than anything. So and here's the beautiful part about it is you're going to be able to hold them accountable to a standard that
they set,
right? That matters to them. So if 1 month they're not living up to expectations and they're not hitting their goals hey,
your actions don't match.
You don't
the
have to
goals
tell
that we
them
went
they're
over.
off pace because they already know.
No, but you have that conversation with them like, hey, John, we're not on track right now, and this is really going to affect you being able to buy that home in that neighborhood in 5 more months. So what do we need to? What can I do to support you to get you back on track so that we can that conversation is completely different than, damn it, John, why didn't you hit your goal this week?
Right.
You know, that is a completely different conversation and a completely different culture, right? That you're able to. Additionally, I'll throw this last thing out there. When you manage this way, you hire and you manage this way, guess what you end up doing? Paying employees less, because we, as CEOs, we're all financially driven to a degree, and we assume that most people are as well, and they'll even tell you they are. Right. The reality is that same person that you hire through that conversation, you may have had in your mind that you're going to pay them $80,000 a year, but when they break it down for them to hit their goals and even exceed their goals, they only need a $60,000 a year comp plan. So it actually it will 100% of the time if you manage this way consistently, it will save you money on payroll, any business's greatest expense, right? But your employees will be happier, more effective, and more motivated than ever before.
Because they have a clear path.
That's right.
They're showing up for something
that matters to them.
Exactly.
Right.
And if individuals don't have a clear path, then they don't know what they're working for. They're just working to, make ends meet, put food on the table, and then they never really excel because they have no reason to, because they're always just going to keep a roof over their head, put food on the table.
That's right.
So in some cases, what you're saying is help them build their own personal vision of what they want, and then hold them accountable to what they want. And you'll see
probably establishes a shit ton of loyalty too, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Without a doubt.
You can have a head hunter come in when you have somebody in that type of environment, and that's how their comp plan, and that's how you manage and hold accountable. You can have a head hunter come in and say, I'm going to pay you $20,000 more. Promise you it won't phase them at all, because you're just talking numbers to them. What the discussion that you're having with them
is real emotion,
exactly,
goals, things that are meaningful to them. Money has no meaning unless you have something behind it, like the dream house,
right.
or whatever. That's the reason why people tie meaning to money, is because it's not the money, it's what they can get with the money.
Right.
And if you don't understand and help them understand what they're trying to accomplish in life, what the money can do for them, then they're not going to be motivated by it.
That's true.
We've actually been really good at this, but it wasn't our strategy. We weren't strategic about it, right? And I think that hearing you talk about it, it's like, man, it's so smart to make all this stuff about the strategy first before you get tactical with it. But man, we just care about our people. So we're like, man, we're paying stuff off for them, giving them advances so they can fix their credit, helping them buy their first home. Like, dude, all these things, like we've done it so many times, and those are the people who are still here today.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean? And so that's why I brought up the loyalty part.
Down payments on houses.
But to make it part of your strategy, like you said, ooh, so powerful.
Yeah,
so
no doubt.
I am worried though.
About
because you got to get to the airport. They don't have a restaurant there, so I want to get them some food.
No,
or something
you're good.
On the way there,
I was just going to ask.
Yeah, I know. We're wrapping up.
How do people connect with you if they want to reach out, touch base with you, or maybe have an interest in potentially working with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Instagram or Facebook. Just hit me a DM. Facebook, Instagram. Most of my posts nowadays are just about family. Yes. But if you have a question in marketing or sales or anything I can do to help, man, I genuinely believe in the giving back thing. I genuinely find value and happiness.
Serving.
Yeah, I do.
And at the end of the day, I mean, you've been in the game long enough. If you, he's Mr. What was the guy's name?
What?
Poyer. Now you're wearing the other guy's shoes that gave you the rent for free.
Yeah.
Ponder.
Yeah,
that's right.
Mr. Ponder now for some of you guys. He'll give you a couple nuggets, maybe in the DM if you reach out to him, and he's just there to serve. He's a good man.
Yeah.
If you're trying to obviously take your business to the next level, there's only one way to do it, and it's investing into your marketing, invest into the message that you're putting out.
Well, it's time's valuable too, so don't be like one of those.
Don't be one of the. you know who you are. When you take advantage a little bit. He's being giving with his time, but don't take advantage of it at the exact same time. So what's your Instagram handle?
_Brad_Bearden.
Okay.
Brad Bearden.
Again, we'll have that in the show notes down in the bio so that you guys can connect with him. Make sure that you take advantage of the individuals that that we put on the podcast and reach out to them if you do have a question, if they can clarify something in their marketing strategy. I'm sure Brad would be there willing to help. And if you literally are serious about taking your business to the next level marketing wise, hands down, you know, Brad's, you know, top notch.
Yeah.
You know, there's a reason why we've spent money with him.
Hey man, we try to invest in the best, and like honestly, it's I'm so grateful that you were willing to give some of your time, because I know how valuable it is to come in here and share this with some of our audience, man. Because like even the stuff you've been teaching me was some of the stuff we talked about today. I'm still getting nuggets from it, man. And so it's
this
super
episode
grateful for your time.
will definitely be impactful to many. So make sure you guys are rating and reviewing the podcast. Don't slip up. We're watching you. We'll come after you. We'll find out where you live. You know, if you're taking advantage of the podcast in getting value, but not, you know, dropping a review. So share it with friends, family that could benefit from it. And other than that, guys, kick ass. Take care. Have a good day.